This is Leisha Holmes, and I'm your host on the Recruitment podcast. And I'm really excited about today's guest, not least because we're talking about a topic which I think might cause quite a bit of debate, particularly on LinkedIn. This is Karandeep Sohel, and he is the founder of Pivot Search, and he's joining us today with a beautiful background for those joining us on YouTube, I should say, rather than podcast. Welcome to you today, Karandeep. How are you?
I'm really well, Leisha. But first of all, really appreciate you having me on the podcast. Really excited to be on Recruitment podcast and talking about something that I think we're both quite passionate about. So yeah, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And, thank you to Shannon, who's obviously been the instigator of this, because I know it's Shannon who's your contact because you're based over in Leeds. There'll be lots of people who don't know who you are that'll be clicking on your profile because we'll be tagging you. But for those who don't yet know who you are, give us a brief bio as to who you are and what you do.
So I'm Karandeep Sohel, Managing Director of Pivot Search. I've been doing recruitment for 15 years, and I guess I've worked in various different environments, always in exec search, working in what you'd call a traditional search environment 15 years ago, sort of very structured, very KPI driven, went on to work for another search firm that was very, very progressive. And I headed up their oil and gas division. So oil and gas upstream recruitment's my background. That's what I've spent the vast majority of the last 15 years doing. So I built up a oil and gas industrial division to just over £2 million turnover, 20 headcount. And then 2 years ago, set up Pivot Search in the midst of lockdown 1 and COVID, which some people will, I guess, wonder why. But Pivot's been going nearly 2 years. It's a very different search firm overall. It's very much geared towards experienced recruiters who want to work in a mature environment that embraces flexibility, innovation, and you as an employer, candidate, client, the search firm is built that way and built with the mindset of it's about prioritising people over profits. As a search firm, I'm sure we'll come on to talk about how we do that. But yeah, it's been really exciting. It's going really well. We're actively growing and looking to bring people on board. So yeah, that hopefully answers a bit about me.
It definitely does. It gives you, it gives you gravitas, and it's important to see the journey that you've gone on and actually to position ourselves in terms of what we're going to talk about today. And I have to say, having looked at your profile, I love that you're one of those pioneering leaders that's definitely trying to change the narrative about how recruitment is perceived, in that it is people over profit. And actually, if you get the right people and you do things properly, you'll make profit. And
absolutely, you'll make profit, but it's about actually wanting a business where your employees enjoy working for you, want to work for you, and they enjoy the benefits of working for you. And I think, one of the compromises is, you have to have an offering that gives more back to the employees. There's a lot of search firms out there which are built as lifestyle businesses where the directors of the businesses, drive flash cars, live the life of luxury. But ultimately, the people working for the business, do they enjoy it? They do it because the top billers get paid reasonably, taken on holiday, but the rest of the business is lost and don't feel valued and they almost feel just a revenue generating cog in a machine. And I really want to move away from that, where everybody in the business enjoys working for the Pivot, whether it's a top biller or alternatively, it's somebody whose ability at that stage in their career is to write 170, 200k, whatever it is, that they get the same level of fulfillment, enjoyment, sense of belonging. And it's not just the top billers and directors who live the life of luxury and enjoy the benefits.
Equitable enjoyment, that's what it should be in terms of your capability. Well, actually, that leads very nicely in terms of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why you think the recruitment industry needs to freshen up. So why and what do you mean by freshen up, first of all?
Well, I guess to start with why, I think if you're going to refresh something, make something better and evolve, there's got to be a reason behind it. And I think recruitment's traditionally an industry that I think lacks evolution, is quite stagnant, stuck in its ways, and hasn't evolved. I think there are very few search firms out there that are disruptive. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that Pivot's the only one, but a disruptive are trying to break the norm and challenge the norm in the way in which things are done. Recruitment for me is an industry that has a lot of negative stigma and stereotypes attached to it. And externally, if you say you're a recruiter, some people sort of roll their eyes because there is a negative stigma and stereotype attached to it. And also, I think probably more importantly, from an employee perspective, there are a lot of people out there who have negative experiences that work in recruitment because they fell into it, they earn a reasonably good living, they've been doing it long enough that they don't know what else to do, or don't have the same opportunity to earn. But work environments that are very boiler room, Wolf of Wall Street, there's lots of micromanagement, there's a bullying culture, strong KPI culture, you become ridiculed for missing targets. If you're doing well and you're making the business money, great. They'll massage your egos, make you feel great. But a lot of employees don't experience that. The people who, might be struggling, and everybody struggles at some point in recruitment. Nobody has a ride where, however long their career is, every minute's on a high. There are the lows, the challenges, and there are a lot of search firms that really don't support you and just focus on work harder, do more, let's just up your KPIs. And ultimately that has a negative effect on your mental health. You don't enjoy coming to work. It has a bearing on your mental health overall, which just isn't in the workplace. It's actually you as a person. And for me, I think that it's time to evolve and move forward. And also I think people want to have a work-life balance, and I want to challenge the status quo and say, yes, you can have a work-life balance where, you actually build work around life and not life around work. And by no means am I saying all search companies are like that and have that negative employee experience, but I think if you talk to a lot of recruiters, that it does exist, that they've experienced it at some point, whether it be now or in the past. And I want to change that. I want to change the external perception so that when people hear about working at Pivot, they're like, well, that breaks the norm. And people who are talking about what work's like are actually positive and go, well, I'll enjoy working for Pivot because it is refreshing, it is a change, I'm valued. And do you know what? I can actually do the things I enjoy. And I guess that...
And make that transit into everybody's business as well. That's what the podcast is about. It's about elevating the whole recruitment industry, each and every one that's listening, whether you're a recruiter starting out your career or whether you're a leader. And, like Karandeep, you've got people working for you and, you're listening to this now thinking, well, what do I need to do to freshen up? I think it's, the industry needs people like you to come in and say, right, let's do things differently. So if you had a time traveling capsule and you could go back to recruitment day one, what would you set our industry out in terms of as a stall? What would it look like? What would it be?
I think going back to recruitment day one, I'd want an employee experience, to be more about you. Actually, it's not... My first experience in recruitment was sitting in a classroom environment being taught how to do the job. There was no understanding why I wanted to do it, what I wanted to achieve, and why I wanted to achieve it. Because I think that the big questions are, what do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve that? And then you get onto the how. I think that I think it'd be more empowering for people on day one to actually be like, well, right, we're going to teach you the how, but let's understand what you want to do, why you want to do it. Then let's give you the toolkit, the resources to be able to do it. Let's take a step back. I think, day one, it shouldn't all be about, right, let's set you these targets, you've got to hit these targets, bang, 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 and I'm going to bully you to do it. It's actually, let's break it down and let's empower you. Let's understand what you want to achieve, why you want to achieve it. And my job as an employer is how are you going to achieve it, and giving you that toolbox. And I think that's the big thing for me, that it shouldn't be all about stepping into a recruitment company and being taught in a classroom environment about recruitment 101. Let's actually understand the individuals that we're trying to help and support and build a career in recruitment.
So that's putting the people before profit, right? That's basically thinking about the people first. So but how does that then work with, if you're thinking about a company's sort of mission, a company has a mission statement, and you could have that as whatever your mission statement is. It could be to, be the ultimate destination for anyone that's in your sector, right? Because obviously it's about finding external customers, but how do you then ensure that those people that you're bringing in, that their why matches your company mission?
I think for me, it's a little bit easier because our model is built around experienced recruiters. So we look for people who want to work in recruitment, and why they want to do it is, that people first element, I guess, comes down to the fact that it's actually talking to them. It's not actually learning on day one why they're doing it. It's understanding during the recruitment process and interviewing of the pivot, why do you want to be here? And the reasons, are very, very different. And I think that money always is going to be there as a why, but it might not be people's primary driver. No. But it's, I think being able to, I guess, connect your company values, culture, mission statement with why somebody wants to do it is part of actually the interview process, and making sure that somebody wants to be in recruitment, and then why they want to be in recruitment, making sure that it works and aligns with what Pivot offers. And then it's about actually treating people. This is where the IU value comes in. Well, what do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? And giving people the trust, the autonomy, and the flexibility to be able to do that. And it's not about trying to make everybody a top biller in the business. Some people will join and say, well, I want to generate 300k. Well, great, let me help you and support you to do that. Somebody might say, well, I believe my ability at a stretch is 170, 200k. Well, they all want to be there for the same reason. They want to earn the commission, but it's helping them get there and make sure that people don't feel lost. No. A lot of you're not in the slipstream of all the top billers. I totally get it. So if bearing in mind our listeners, if there's people listening that are in, they're running their search firms or contingency, this isn't just applicable to search firms, of course, this is across the recruitment industry, thinking, what you're saying is, it's flipping the mindset, isn't it? It's about thinking about the person's why rather than the company why. So how does an employer ensure that they don't lose, I guess, the provenance and the legacy and their reputation for what they're doing, whilst maybe refreshing their culture and their internal structure? For me, I think that it comes back to you. Do you want to change? Do you want to refresh? What do you want to change? Why do you want to change that? For me, if you want to actually do something and you're passionate about driving positive change, you should never ever worry about compromising your reputation or your history, because at the end of the day, whether you're an employee of that business or you're a client of that business or a candidate of that business, you're driving change that should actually drive a positive experience for them. I think what you do need, if you're going to go make change and you're going to be refreshing, you're going to be different, you should never think, am I compromising my past or my reputation? Because your reputation should not suffer. Your history might actually change positively, that people actually think, well, my experience of that business was this, but it's actually got better. Yeah. I think what you do need to do is go in with a mindset of, you can't come in and just go, right, we're changing today and this is what we're doing. We're rolling out complete flexibility, work when you want, where you want. We're going to roll out some innovation and expect it to just work on its own. You've got to have a mindset of driving that down. It's got to come from the top. Yeah, but you've got to champion whatever you are trying to refresh within the business, but you've also got to have a mindset of flexibility. Not everything you do works on day one. Not everything you do works in the first few weeks. You've constantly got to be evaluating it. I think this is where the person that you are, who's supposed to be benefiting from this refreshing change, whether it be your employers, your employees, whether it be your candidates, whether it be your clients, you're constantly talking to them and asking them, you know, how's it going for you? What's working? What's not working? Not being afraid to actually step back and go, well, we need to revise things. We need to evaluate and make changes for something to work.
Of course it is. It really is. I was actually going to ask you that, you know, how do we ensure that our external customers ensure that it's not just some kind of marketing ploy, or it's something quite authentic and genuine? But you're right. I think you said at the very start of this that as a sector, have we evolved? Are we evolving? And actually, we in theory, we do each time we go to market with a candidate or a client search, don't we? So I think it's taking that feedback and then bringing it into our own journey, our own story, and saying, right, what can we do better? What can we do differently? How can we make ourselves stand out from the competition?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, where I would say there is a compromise along the line. You know, I guess to give you an example, one of the big things that we evaluated was we put together an offering which didn't focus on a particular thing. It wasn't flexibility driven. It wasn't innovation driven, picking on one thing and going with it. Obviously, flexibility is the big fad at the moment. It's the big thing companies are trying to roll out, 4-day week trials. We wanted to create a complete offering to employees that made it attractive, and that's passed on to your clients. You know, if your employees enjoy working for you, feel motivated, feel empowered, the end result for your clients is probably going to be, or should be, better. But we created an environment that had complete flexibility, so work when you want, where you want, what you're working towards is driven by you. We had innovation through actually building Pivot not as a business that specialises in a particular sector or sectors. We actually spend more and invest more in our consultants so that their position is key people of influence, and marketing's a massive part of that, video's a part of that. But when we evaluated it, and I guess I measured success on how we attracting experienced recruiters, and we attracted some but not enough. And I looked at it, and when we improved our earning side of things and commission and bonus side of things, and it was good. The rest of the package was unbelievable, but we had to look back and go, we need to be more generous. You know, if we really want to attract the creme de la creme in recruitment, our earning potential needs to be so much better. And I had to go back, and I did it midway through the year, which may seem a strange time, but I went back and went, I'm going to improve what people can earn by 30% of what we offer that's already good, to make it align with the rest of the offering.
Now that's refresh. That's what we're talking about.
You know, I can't find any structures where consultants can earn 45% upwards in total of what they bill, in a way that you don't have to jump through hoops of building it in a quarter, or billing it in a half year, or billing it in a 4-week period, where it looks great on paper but it's unachievable. I ripped that book up and went, I'm going to create something where if you actually build the money over a course of a year, you earn the commission. It's as simple as that. But what was the compromise to me for that? It was profitability per head, but that was a compromise that I was prepared to make, and there are compromises all the way down the line. So profit per head went down, consultants earned more. We took a quick hit on our we did take a hit on our profitability per head, but ultimately in the bigger picture, in the short, the mid and the long term, the employees win. They're earning more money than they can earn anywhere else, and it's achievable. But, you know, it should help and attract people. If we grow as a business, we will be profitable, but you have to compromise. And, you know, having an environment that promotes letting you do what you want to do, doing the things you enjoy whenever you want to do it. You know, it's not an environment that constantly pushes and pushes. We've all worked for that recruitment company where, you know, you have a record-breaking year, you build £270,000 a year, and you sit in your appraisal coming out going, right, well, we want 350. Well, do you know what? that's not necessarily what the consultant wants.
Yeah, I was going to say this ties right now, as we come to the end. It ties back nicely to what you said at the start. This comes back to the why. If you've got a consultant in your business, and that's what, or you are that consultant, and you want to be pushed, and you want to continually be pushed on that, then that's fantastic. It's having different ways of and freshening up your leadership style so that you can have the people that want to do that. Great, we'll give you a path to do that, and it's a very generous way that you can be rewarded, but actually we're also going to ensure that we've got opportunities for you in the business that you can have people that maybe don't want to be pushed that hard, but will still make a very nice profit for your business, and we'll get a nice reward for them. I think if in terms of lessons for those listening, I think it's important that, you've obviously walked the walk. It's as simple as that. And that's why we invite people like you on the podcast, because we want to hear from the testimony of you. So, you've obviously been in all sorts of environments where you've clearly felt that, and you now want to create this environment where people can feel that they are being listened to and that their why is being listened to. And that's, I guess, have I summarised that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about you. What do you want to achieve? And providing it's above a certain level, I will encourage you, I will support you, and I'll make sure that you're motivated to achieve it. And when you achieve it, that you feel acknowledged, recognised, and it's not just the people at the top who do it. And I think it's important that people earn good money, whatever they are billing. And the other thing that I think is important, the way that we've done it, is that if two people bill the same amount of money as consultants, they earn the same amount, irrelevant of their basic salary. We can be accommodating for different bases, but if two people bill 200,000, they can look at each other knowing they've earned exactly the same amount of money. And that's the equality side. If people want to earn more money, they have to bill more. But why should somebody who's on the higher basic actually earn more than somebody who's written the same amount as them? It's not fair. It's really trying to drive that equality and building a business that, do you know what? It's about you. It's about what do you want to achieve and helping you achieve that, and making sure that what you want to achieve and what I want you to achieve are on the same page, and we'll work towards it, and knowing that if you achieve it, you recognise, you're acknowledged, and
you feel rewarded.
You know that you've done your bit. And I think the big bit for recruitment owners is you've got to want to do it. It takes a change in mindset and attitude. If you're shifting things, whether it be flexibility, whether it's innovating the way in which you do things, whether it's changing a commission structure and earning potential, whatever it is that you're doing to refresh your business, you've got to champion it, and you've got to have a mindset of, if you're bringing in flexibility or a 4-day week or complete flexibility, you've got to champion it and do it yourself. But secondly, you can't then resent people or be like, well, we're doing a 4-day week, but can you not do that on a Friday? Can you not take that client call?
Oh, absolutely. That's a whole different podcast, that, Karandeep, I have to say. You've summarised it perfectly, and I think what you've made it really obvious is that this is something that any leader can refresh, and actually any recruiter, you can refresh your business plan, your desk, your career, but it's all about communication. And it's wonderful to speak to business leaders like yourself who are truly embracing meritocracy and that equitability of recruitment, and making sure that we are fair and that we're looking after the people that we have in our sector. Thank you so much for joining us on the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. You've been a delightful guest.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Alicia. Thank you for having me, and appreciate your time as well.
Thank you.